From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney Podcast.
Welcome aboard the Ear to There Podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There Disney Podcast. I am your host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and the operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney-specialized travel agency. It is my job to take away all of that stress, all of that anxiety, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a phenomenal time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And I take away all that stress and all that anxiety and all that time absolutely at no extra cost to you. So I will handle your hotel reservations, your fast passes, your dining reservations, special event tickets, golf tee times, set up your Disney's Magical Express, whatever you'd like. I handle everything absolutely for free. You can find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, no obligation quote over at ear2theretravel.com. All right, are you ready? Because this is a big one. This is episode number 100, believe it or not, for the week of December 4th, 2017. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the 100th show. And before I get into the show this week, I wanted to bring you this week's segment of What About Bob? That is where listeners can call into the voice line at 267-551-1971 and ask Disney legend and Imagineer Bob Gurr any question they would like, and he will answer those questions each and every episode of the show. Of course, the What About Bob segment is brought to you by the Walt Land Disney History Bus Tour. Each month, Bob takes a bunch of lucky guests on a tour of Hollywood, Burbank, and the Disney Studios. Bob Gurr is the narrator and the host of the tour. We'll visit all kinds of famous landmarks in the history of the Disney company and of Walt Disney himself. So to get tickets for one of the tours, just head over to waltland.com. Okay, here comes Bob.
It's What About Bob? Bob Gurr, the legend, creator of the Matterhorn, the monorails and the Haunted Mansion. What about Bob, the Disney legend?
Hey, Phil, this is Robin. I am calling in my question for Bob Gurr, and my question, it is a burning question, is this. I have a 17-year-old daughter who her number one goal is to become a Disney Imagineer, and I would love to hear what his advice might be for her to achieve her goal of becoming an Imagineer. And that's it. Okay, thanks so much. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Bye-bye.
I get this question hundreds of times a year everywhere I go. The exact question that was asked is, want to be an Imagineer? And you stop right there. There's a giant difference between wanting to be somebody and actually doing something. There's a giant difference, again, between, I can't emphasize it strong enough, being an Imagineer is a dream. Doing Imagineering work is a serious career that you have got to start preparing for when you're about 5 years old. I'm deadly serious about that. One of the characteristics Walt had, he had this endless curiosity about everything. He just constantly was poking his nose into everything. The latest technology, the new ways to tell stories, which stories are very thorough, how would you do all that? He did that by literally collecting information in his head on his own time throughout his entire life. Now, a lot of people, when I start to tell the parents or start to tell a young person how to answer that question, it kind of startles them because they figure, well, I get interested in being, I want to be an Imagineer, So after I leave high school and I walk around with my mobile device and I party a lot, and then I'll just go to school and be one. Well, that won't work. You can go to college, you can go to any kind of schools, art schools or whatever, with the idea, I'm going to be an Imagineer someday. Well, no, it doesn't even work that way. The only people that become Imagineers that are really, really, really good are the ones that have been curious from at least 5 years old. They never wasted any time in junior high or high school. They didn't party a lot. They were constantly drawing and sketching hypothetical things all their life. They're sitting down writing stories and scenarios, and they do that totally independent of a formal education. Most of the people that I've seen come into Imagineering over the years are people that are very, very much self-taught, and they've been doing that driven by that original curiosity. Now, this is an answer that I know nobody ever likes to hear. And I can see the look on the parents' face of saying to themselves, oh, I thought so. I thought my child wanted to be, but I didn't realize you have to work very hard to do Imagineering work. I know that's a cruel and disappointing answer, but that is the answer.
Is it safe to say that when you're in college or you're a senior in high school, it's almost, it's not too, is it too late at that point?
Well, I haven't seen hardly anybody that I would say turned out to be a really super person doing Imagineering work, really creative work that started a bit late in life. Most of these folks, when you talk to them, you'll find out that they were driven at an extremely early age. And sometimes when people press me harder for a better answer, I sometimes look at a child, if they're a little bit responsive, and they show me their little sketches or something. A lot of times they can't even draw. They just want to be an Imagineer. I says, well, you got some good-looking sketches there. Your first thing, you're on your way. You absolutely used your good judgment. You picked a perfect parent so you could get some good DNA. So you got to start with a good DNA. And then when you're 5 years old, you got to have your passion going. And then you just work like mad from 5 years old on up. You'll be way ahead of everybody else who finished, graduate from high school, stopped partying, bought a smartphone, and says, "Ooh, I want to be an Imagineer."
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, you're too late.
I just want to start this episode off by saying thank you. Like the biggest, most sincere, from the bottom of my heart, thank you that I could ever kind of put out there. Thank you for listening. And thank you for telling your friends, and thank you for booking trips for me, because that's how I make my money and get to continue to do this show. But most of all, thank you for trusting me, and thank you for telling me each and every week how much you enjoy the show and how much you look forward to it and tell other people about it. And it means the absolute world to me. And I'm just so excited and so happy that I get to do this every week and that you're listening every week. And it's just an amazing thing to get to do. And to think I was never going to do this. I didn't like my voice. I didn't think people would want to listen. So I kept saying no. Other people who were in the podcasting world would tell me, you should be doing this. And I said, no. Eventually, I bought the equipment. I stared at the podcasting equipment in my garage, in my house for weeks. I didn't know how to turn it on. But guess what? I read about it. I watched some YouTube videos, some tutorials. I figured it out. And I started almost 2 years ago recording shows. And at the beginning, they were rough. Not to say that I'm much better now, but I know I'm at least a little bit better than I was maybe the first, say, 10, 15 episodes or so. But you hung in there, you stuck with me, you're still here, you're listening today. You maybe not have listened to those rough dozen episodes of the show, and you're here, and you're listening, and you're wherever you are, in the car, or in the treadmill, or on the exercise bike, or out on a walk, wherever. I just want to say again, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to me, and I am so excited to bring you episode number 100 of the Ear to There Disney podcast. So what I wanted to do this week for episode number 100 was kind of take a look back at the first almost 2 years of the show. And when I call this episode 100, it is technically episode 100, but including the Word of the Week episodes, I've done well over 160 different shows that you can download there on your on your listening device, your iPod, your whatever you decide to listen on your computer. There's 160 plus shows. But this one is my official 100th episode. So what I asked for was I wanted some listeners and some friends to call the voice line. Again, the voice line number is 267-551-1971. And I asked them to call in with their favorite moments from the show or things they liked or they didn't like. Luckily, no one called and told me what they didn't like. But we're going to go back over those calls. We're going to check out some clips and some highlights of this show for the past 99 episodes. So it's going to be fun. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guest. Actually, not really a guest because he's kind of been a co-host for the first 100 episodes. You hear him all the time. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Johnny Shortsleeve.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. And I got to say it right now. Congratulations. And this is it's an amazing thing that you're doing here. I went back just for fun the other day and listened to some of the early episodes. No, man, I think you should do it. I know you say you don't do it, but I went just for fun just to see like how much you've grown into this amazing host, and the content you're cranking out is really incredible. So I'm grateful to be a part of this, and however little sliver I get to be in the mix here. So thanks for letting me be a part of this episode, especially because this is an important one. So I'm proud of you, man. You've done a great job.
Thank you, man. And listen, we became friends just a few years ago, thanks to this career, this job that I started, and the group that we were in, and we're both guys trying to build our own businesses and do our own thing. And I'm so lucky and so thankful to have found you and others that other people through the show that some of which we'll hear from on this episode. Others we won't, but really, I made lifelong friends doing this already, and I'm so appreciative of you and everybody else. And it's really a cool thing. And I feel bad that you went back and listened to some of the shows, but I did the same thing. I finally did this week in preparing for this episode. And I have to say, man, I was bad.
No, you weren't bad. It's just, this is a craft that requires a lot of time and in terms of being able to get comfortable with it. And not only in finding your own voice, but then finding just your style in terms of what you're trying to create in the content and the guests that you bring on and what kind of information you're putting together. But, the bigger picture is you're creating a community now around something that we all have this amazing passion for and our love for Disney. And, it's nice to see somebody like yourself be the ringleader of a community like that, because, you get to set the tone for everybody who gets to hang out and enjoy the content that you create. And, I know there's that, what do you call that stuff? Facebook? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's right, Facebook. Face page. I knew it was stuck on my tongue. Face page. That face page thing you're doing now, where you're creating the little community there, is really important to me, because I think when you see that there's something that is being created where people who are like-minded, who have a similar passion, can get together and make friends and bond. And you've told me some stories of people who are becoming friends just as a result of this little community on Face page that you're creating. And think about that, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, I have people who were taking trips together who met through one of my groups on Facebook, and now they're planning vacations to Walt Disney World together.
All right,
cool.
Let me throw this out there. So we're at episode 100 now. How about this as a goal for episode 200? By the episode number 200, let's see if you can get two listeners together and get married.
Dude, that would be the coolest thing ever. Do like a wedding on the high seas, like a cruise, an Ear to There travel first official cruise. Say 2 years from now, 2 listeners who met in the community get married on the ship. Can we make that happen? I think we can.
Yeah, and then you get ordained, and you be the minister that presides over it.
You know what's funny is my buddy got married. My friend Pat, who I don't think he would mind me mentioning his name. He works for the Orlando Magic. We've been friends since we were in kindergarten. We've been friends for, I don't know how many years that is, 35, 34 years. It's a long time. And he was getting married, and he asked me, he said, listen, I want you to be in the wedding, but you're either going to be my best man or you're going to perform the ceremony, because I was also really good friends with his fiance, and we still are. So he said, it's your choice, whatever you want to do. And I said, well, from the best man, what do I have to do? And he said, well, you have to get up and give a speech at the reception. And then I said, well, if I perform it, what do I have to do? And he's like, just stand in front of everybody. And I thought about it, and I figured, I think I want to be the best man, because at least then all eyes aren't on me at that moment. So I went the other way. I was the best man in the wedding, and it was fun. I don't even know why
you get ordained. Get ordained, and you could do it with like the Oswald ears on.
Yeah, but at the church, one of those online churches that let you do it for nothing. Well, what's funny is my buddy Pat, who I was the best man for. He actually took some online class and got certified to perform weddings in the state of Florida, and he's done a few. He's actually married people. So
is he like Craigslist ads? How does he?
I don't know. No, they were like friends, and he's a lawyer. So I don't know. I don't know if you have to be a lawyer. I have no idea.
I think you just got to pay like $10 and get a certificate. It's kind of like getting those service animal vests you get on Amazon. I mean,
for all the dogs that you see in Magic Kingdom now. Oh, I don't want to get in trouble. I got to stop talking.
Maybe we should edit that
out. But no. But what's funny is when I said he's a lawyer, it reminded me of there was an old skit on Saturday Night Live where Tracy Morgan would play Star Jones when she was on The View. And because Star Jones would always talk about how she was a lawyer. So Tracy Morgan would always say, but listen, honey, I'm a lawyer. And they would do it all the time. It just cracked me up. Anyway, tangent upon tangent. And this show's going to be long enough because I have a lot of stuff to get to, a lot of people to thank, and a lot of clips to play. But yeah, man, thank you for being such a huge part of the show. It's been a lot of fun. And, I get so many messages from people saying how they enjoy.
This guy's an idiot. Take him off.
No, man. They enjoy the absolute opposite. They say, you and Johnny together, they're the funniest shows. You'll hear a couple of those today, whenever you're listening to this show. Just you and I happen to be recording at night.
That was Grandma. She called in.
Yes. Oh.
But she got all confused because your phone number is more than 4 digits long. She lives out in the countryside over here, and she's old.
It was just 1, 2, 3, 4
it's
for her.
Klondike 1, 2, 7.
Well, next time for episode 200, we'll have her call in.
I think you should just have her in the studio. I'm going to book her on a Greyhound bus ticket, get her up to Philadelphia.
There's not a lot of room in my studio. When Amy and I do shows together in here, I kind of stretch out. I like to move around and walk around. And I think I cramp her style a little bit when we do.
Yeah, well, she's got an ample frame too. So
all right, man. Well, again, I'm stuttering and mumbling. I am so appreciative of you. So thank you for coming on again, and thank you for celebrating the 100th episode with me. I'm excited. So what I was trying to do, what I tried to do was, I just got in touch. I didn't leave it this open to everyone because I would have been flooded with calls, but I left it open to a few people, to a small number of listeners that I know listen to a lot of shows, friends of the show, and ask them to kind of call in and talk about their favorite parts of the show for the first 100 episodes. It turned into a little bit of a pat me on the back thing, which is not really what I was asking. And I wasn't asking people to congratulate me. I was asking people to tell me what they liked and what they didn't like. And again, luckily nobody told me what they didn't like, which was nice. But I got quite a few calls. So I think I whittled it down to 10 calls. And I wanted to talk, let them have their say and talk about what they like on the show. And then you and I can kind of talk about what they talked about, if that's cool with you.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea, man.
And actually, this was another collaborative effort. This was more your idea than mine when you and I were talking about what a good idea for the 100th episode would be. I thought about doing a, you know what, I'm not even going to say it. I was going to say, and now I'm going to say it. I thought about doing a 24-hour long episode. You and I have a friend that did it. And I've never heard anyone regret anything more than our mutual friend who did that 24-hour episode.
And he still talks about that.
I know, it was murder for that guy.
Yeah,
but what's that?
It's great idea on paper, but
yes, you know what's funny is I think as that was getting started, he had to be that had to be the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. But we may or may not hear from him. I won't say who it is. We may not hear from him on this episode. So all right, so I wanted to start playing voicemails, and then we can kind of go from there.
Right on.
This first one, I'm not even going to introduce them really because they're people that they mostly introduce themselves. So here is the first voicemail. Hopefully everybody can hear it from a friend, a listener, a client. And here we go.
Hey, Phil. So this is Jenny Bernier calling about the 100 podcast thing. So I have to say that I had a really difficult time deciding which podcast contained my most favorite moment because over 100 episodes, I mean, that is an awful lot. I figured I could mention your interview with Stacy from Must Do Disney, or many of the funny moments from any podcast with Johnny Shortsleeve, because you guys are hilarious together. But when it came down to it, I decided on a throwback. The actual moment in the Ear to Their podcast that made me a fan and not just a listener was episode 7, the best Disney movies you've never seen. And it's kind of like random. It doesn't have to do about Disney World or Disneyland. But the reason why I really liked it was, first, this was the first introduction of the famous Chuck Rodriguez. And disclaimer, while I don't always agree with his official opinions, this one was good. He named the movie Flight of the Navigator as being one of the great movies that you've never seen, a classic and a huge part of my childhood. So I actually yelled yes when I heard him say it and loved the description and commentary that you guys had afterwards. And at that point in the podcast, I realized that you and your guests not only had great things to say about Disney-related subjects, but you have experienced Disney the same way I have, appreciating the feeling of inspiration and wonder that the many of the older Disney movies have portrayed. So I want to thank you and congratulations on 100 episodes.
So
wow,
right. So
shout out to Jenny. That was nice.
Wasn't that cool? And that's Jenny Bernier. Where I say Bernier like she's a Canadian and she's not. It's Bernier. So Jenny, I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. Even though I've booked like 4 trips for her already, I've never pronounced her name correctly. But so much to talk about in that message, right? Like, first of all, she thinks we're hilarious, so she's got that going for her.
Yeah, well, I already like her right now. She when she said the famous Chuck Rodriguez. Let me tell you a quick funny story about Chuck. I kind of alluded to this to you when we were talking the other day when we were all together a few days ago when you were in town. I was talking to Chuck, and he was telling me some stories, and I didn't realize that I'd cracked a joke on a podcast recently that he could have deemed to be very offensive because of his work and what he does and who he works for. And I said, Chuck, I'm so sorry, man. I totally didn't mean to be offensive. That just kind of came off the top of my head. And the dude was 100% gracious. Like, he was like, no, it was funny. It was good. I laughed. And I was like, well, I mean, what a cool guy, Like, I like people who've got a good sense of humor and can take a joke. And it wasn't meant to be, knocking him or the company he works for or anything like that. But it was like, he was such a cool dude. So I like Jenny in being able to say that, Chuck is in fact such an important part of what you're doing. And he does bring a lot of cool stuff to the podcast. So way to go, Jenny.
That's true. Both things are absolutely correct. And I think I told you Chuck is the absolute most difficult person to offend that I've ever met in my entire life. Like he just can't. Like, I can say anything I want to him, and normally do, especially off the air, off the podcast. And he just laughs it off. He doesn't get offended, and he's not afraid.
He laughs. He's quick-witted too. He's a funny guy.
He's very funny, and he's not afraid to tell you his opinion. So over and over and over again, that Chuck. But as my phone beeps, I'm sorry. I'm playing my clips through the phone, so I'm getting messages, and it's very.
Yeah, what is this, amateur hour?
Come on, man.
It's your first episode.
It's supposed to be a very well published, well thought out 100th episode.
Come on.
So it's the only way I can think about playing the messages so you can hear them. So the other thing that Jenny mentioned, besides how hilarious you and I are, was that she became a fan and not just a listener. I thought that was really cool. I haven't heard someone say that before. I've heard people say that about other people's podcasts and like real entertainment. So I thought that was very neat. And
real entertainment.
Yeah, like we're just
like WWF wrestling.
Like, yes, exactly. WWE. Come on, man, get it right. It's been hasn't been WWF in a long 80s. Time. But yeah, like you know what I mean. Like you and I are a couple of monkeys pushing buttons. I'm not exactly changing the world over here, but it was nice to hear her call herself a fan. That's very, very cool.
Well, no, man, you're no, I don't do anything, man. I'm no Bobby the Brain Heenan. You know, I'm just sitting over here just looking pretty. You know what I'm saying? You're the one that does all the hard work.
Dude, rest in peace, Bobby the Brain. He just passed away a couple months ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And he wasn't as old as I thought.
What happened? What did he have?
I think it was cancer or something like that. I mean, and he was.
Please tell me it wasn't a brain tumor, right?
No, that would be horrible. That would be the old.
Yeah, I mean that'd be terrible for Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah, you don't want that. But no, I think it was cancer.
You don't want that on you.
So
yeah, rest in peace, man.
I'm not laughing.
Go 4 out of 40 on the curb for him.
I'm not laughing about his death. I'm laughing about the joke. Anyway, before we get in trouble. But yeah, then the other thing she mentioned was the Flight of the Navigator. And is that a movie you're familiar with at all?
I've seen it as a kid, and I remember they had the prop on the back tour.
Yep.
But I literally, it's probably been, gosh, I mean, 25 years since that. I mean, when did that movie? It was in like the mid 80s that came out.
I think it was like 86, probably. If I had to guess.
I think it was probably the 80s was the last time I saw that film.
So there's something that she brought that up. Flight of Navigator, and then I wanted to play a clip from that episode with Chuck and I talking about it because there's something that I wanted to kind of bring up afterwards. So here is a little bit of that clip from Flight of Navigator.
All right. Yes. My next one, I suppose, with that theme of time travel and whatnot, and this is one where either if you were growing up in the 80s, either you saw it 1,000 times or you don't even know it existed.
Do not do it. Because this is on my list.
Flight of the Navigator.
That was my ringer, man. That was my anchor.
Oh, come on. I had to put this one down. Yes, I my brothers and I saw this so many times, I don't even know how the VHS tape even worked anymore.
Right.
And I loved it because, well, you know, it was that time in the 80s when obviously there were so many movies that kind of empowered kids, and I loved those movies. You know, like Goonies and Space Camp, where it makes you think like, okay, as kids, you're probably just as good as pretty any adult on this stupid planet, or even better in many cases. So I like that about the movie, you know, that a kid actually and his alien friends can actually just figure everything out instead and overpower all the adults. And of course, that Sarah Jessica Parker is one of the young adults who helps him long before we knew how great Sarah Jessica Parker was going to be in our lives. And what else did I love about it? Well, the whatchamacallit, the sayings, like the catchphrases, like compliance. I've said that a million times since then. A million times.
Dude, Flight of the Navigator is one of my favorite, not just Disney movies, but one of my favorite movies of all time. It was like the movie of my childhood. Like that movie, I remember seeing that in the movies, and we owned it on VHS too, my brother and I, and we watched it probably 100 times. So the reason I wanted to play that was, and something that Jenny kind of said, was that it shows like I don't know, that movie and the fact that Chuck and I both loved it. And again, this conversation is going to go all over the place, so I apologize to anyone listening. But I kind of wanted to tackle it this way. It shows this sense of like wonder and excitement, and I don't know. There's something about being a kid that connects with me to that movie. I don't know. And she gets it, and Chuck got it, and I got it. And I know you said you haven't watched it in a long time, but it's one of those movies that I don't know, man. There's something about it that makes me just feel like it's like this movie that Walt Disney probably could have made. Just this movie about hope and the future, and it's just it's such a cool thing. And it's all about kind of doing the unexpected and doing kind of what you want. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling. I'm sorry, but if that makes any sense, I like that that's what brought her into the show, was this conversation about, this hope and this sense of wonder as a kid. And it's exciting to me that that's what she gets from the show, and that's why she enjoys it. And yeah, I wanted to bring that up. And I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
It does. And, for me, when I'm hearing that conversation again and thinking about Jenny's comments, is to say, there's just a lot of gold in the Disney vault in terms of the films that have been made. And the challenge is there's so many films that they made that you look at the ones that are just the real icons, the ones that are like the A-list films of, like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or Cinderella or, Blank Check. It's hard. You didn't catch my joke, man. That was a good one. I like that one.
No,
you don't know Blank Check?
I remember Blank Check. I was waiting for. I didn't know if there was going to be a further punchline. Sorry.
Sorry. And that was a weak one.
No, it was good. It was good. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to ruin it if you were going to go somewhere further with it.
No, I'm happy. I'm pretty proud of myself to pull that one, because I didn't even remember it until it came out of my mouth. But anyway, it's amazing that there is so much out there that when you look at just the catalog of all the films that have been made by Disney, it's insane. Like just how much good stuff is in there. But unfortunately, you have a lot of films which are maybe like the B grade, that sometimes get overshadowed by all the A grade, like really well-loved films, The Little Mermaids and Beauty and the Beast, those kinds of films. So it kind of makes you think, well, maybe I need to go back and revisit some of those ones I saw as a kid or many, many years ago, and just give them another watch, because there's a lot of really interesting things that are in there. And that was at a time when things were, we don't want to go into the history of the movie business with Disney, but things were kind of getting ready to change at that point in time. And, the company was kind of coming out of a really dark age. And so that's kind of that film was placed in a really neat time in history for the company. And I think that's just such a really good pick.
Yeah, I do. And there was a fun one. That was a fun episode to do with Chuck, because that was on that clip was from Best Disney Movies You've Never Seen. And I remember I got a bunch of emails after that and saying that was their favorite movie that they had to like convince people to watch, like in college. Like the people missed it, kids missed it and didn't see it. Yeah. And it's a really cool one. So yeah, I like going back and listening to that stuff. And so that's kind of what a lot of these calls are, or stuff, just like looking back. And so let me play another one. This one is from, let me look at my list and see which way I want to do it. Okay, this one is, I'm going to do Chuck's voicemail that he left, because we were just talking about what kind of guy Chuck is like. And I tried to get him on this episode, but he was too busy tonight. He was going to Magic Kingdom with his family. So I was like, yeah, I know. You guys, you locals.
He's rubbing it in.
He is. So yeah, so here's Chuck on his voicemail for the 100th episode.
Well, congratulations on your first 100 episodes, Phil. I don't think this would come as a surprise to anyone, but the episodes that I've enjoyed the most are the 10 or so that I was on. I mean, let's be honest. And I do listen to the other episodes, but I don't learn anything because I still know more about the Disney theme parks than you or your guests do anyway. So, but they're still entertaining, and I do look forward to the next 100. Congratulations.
Yeah, see, so he's a knucklehead. That's really all it comes down to, right?
I mean, I like the cut of his jib. He's funny.
So there's not a whole lot to say about that. That's kind of what Chuck is. And to kind of follow up on it, to kind of bring it full circle with Chuck, because again, he's been a big part of the show since it started. I wanted to play one of my favorite clips from Chuck on a show, and this was the favorite. I think it was episode 7, I believe, maybe 9. The top. This is surprising. It was the top smells in Walt Disney World, and this is what Chuck had to say.
I know you're gonna think this is cheesy, but as you walk into the Magic Kingdom with when I walk into the Magic Kingdom with family or friends like you and your wife and your children, or my parents and my brother and sister-in-law and my nieces, who are probably the people I go to the most often with, and you walk in and the kids have so much joy, and I say that what you're smelling is happiness. You are smelling a happiness. And I know that you're not saying anything right now because you know this is complete baloney.
I'm trying to figure out how to best handle it.
You know that I'm way too cynical to say something like that. So my real one is.
I was going to say, this isn't the Chuck that I know.
No, my real one is actually.
Yeah. So again, he's full of it, Chuck. I love that clip of him though, because that is the epitome of everything he's been on the podcast since it started.
I think he needs to get a job with like one of the deodorant companies, because there's the one line is Mountain Spring and the next one is Redwood Forest, like happiness.
Yeah.
Happiness.
Like Old Spice High Endurance, man.
I know, it's Magic Kingdom in a July morning at 9:00. I don't know if I'd call that smell happiness, because you smell.
No,
you smell some interesting smells. Oh, thank goodness they pumped those scents out of the confectionery onto Main Street, because I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, you got the smell. You got a candy cane smell going right now. It's the holidays.
Yeah, gingerbread.
I was walking down last week, and man, I mentioned that on episode 99 of the show. I did a little solo because Amy fell and got hurt, and we couldn't record, but I wanted to record, so we did I did episode 99, a solo walking tour of Magic Kingdom, and just walking down and smelling the gingerbread and the candy canes and the cookies, and yeah, I love all of that, but Chuck is too cynical to enjoy any of it.
Well, now, do you think he was cynical when he was saying that, or do you think he's being sincere? Because yeah, because that's the thing. Like I was hearing him. Like I heard him when he said it the first time, and I kind of thought he was being sincere. And now I'm hearing it a second time. I'm questioning, like, was he cracking a joke, or because I think I can still hear some sincerity in his voice, which is probably like one of. Really, you think so?
I know so. Oh. I've known Chuck for, let me think. Amy and I have been married 10 years next month. I've known Chuck 12 or 13 years. Yeah, I know he's when he's, pulling my leg, and that's why I was so quiet in that moment of the clip, because I knew that he was full of it. But all right, so just complete shot in the dark, right? This is just the kind of, we're winging it, you and I, listening to clips kind of episode. What? You had to pick one favorite smell, because you didn't get to do that episode with me. Say, or two, if you can't decide one. What are your top smells or top smell in all of Walt Disney World?
Oh, wow.
And I know I'm completely putting you on the spot here. So
no, I appreciate it, because I'm trying to do like what I normally do, and I don't want to go to the ones that are the ones that everyone says, like confectionery on Main Street. There's that. Sure. That's a great smell. And I'll tell you right now, two that I really, really enjoy. And it's not going to be a surprise to anybody who listens regularly. walking into the lobby of the Polynesian, there's a very floral smell. It's not like punch you in the face, like really, like if you're somebody who has a sensitivity to smells, like perfumes or whatever, like it's not going to be problematic for you. But that one, it's. I love just sitting in the lobby and just hanging out the Polynesian. So I love the smell there. Another one, which I think people probably hear me say this and go, really, is there one there? Is the Wilderness Lodge. I think in the main building there is a little bit of a smell to me that I'm not sure if it's deliberate or what it is, but this is crazy. So every morning when I make coffee here at Chateau Shortsleeve, I use a French press, and the kind
fancy.
of coffee. I'm classy Freddie Blassie over here. When I make it, the kind of beans that I use, like when they're brewing, it smells like Roaring Fork in the morning to me. Like brewing, awesome. Like breakfast at Roaring Fork kind of has a smell with all the coffee and everything that's going on in there. So that to me is one that I really enjoy. This one's going to sound nutty. Is Rome Burning on Spaceship Earth.
That's a great one, man. I agree.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one. Here's another crazy one. The 50s Primetime Cafe has a smell in there. And, it's a restaurant, so you're going to smell the food. But, just that combined, I'm sure that whatever you smell when you walk in there is probably 99% food. And if there's 1%, that's just a margin of error. But I just love the smell in there. Like, it just smells like home cooking and a great time. And to borrow kind of Chuck's strategy of smell of happiness, it smells like a great time, everybody. So, gosh, I mean, we could probably just do a whole episode where I could just rattle.
We got
off.
to do that. Yeah, you and I have to do a second episode of the smells.
Yeah, because there's a lot.
One. Yeah,
yeah, and it's amazing how unique. Forget the attractions and the hotels, because we kind of we can kind of talk about why they have unique smells there. But there's even just around property, there's a lot of unique areas that if you go and stand there and just kind of relax and hang out, you'll notice that whatever you're enjoying in terms of is olfactory, is that the sense?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Golly, every now and then, man, like just a blink of brilliance out of this brain, like a bat shooting out of a belfry, bang. Like you'll get an olfactory sense that of a scent that is unique to anywhere else in Walt Disney World. So that's such a cool topic to talk about.
Dude, I have to tell you that your first three that you mentioned, okay? I'm in my little studio office right now. I have a candle lit. It's not one of the ones that you mentioned. Mine is that I have lit now. It's called Mousekeeping on the High Seas. And it's a kind of combo of like a lemony smell with the ocean kind of saltwater smell that you would smell from a newly cleaned room on the cruise ship.
It's that's really cool.
Yeah, the other ones that I have in my office right now are the Polynesian lobby, the Wilderness Lodge lobby, the room burning smell.
Are you serious?
I swear to God.
I just went down the whole row.
I also have Beach Club, the indoor water. It's called Splashdown, which is one of the musty water smell. And I have Soarin', the Soarin' candle. But yeah, three of the ones you mentioned are literally on my desk. So
that's so funny.
And I cycle through them. Like I will light one while I work, and I'll put back this is how much people you listen. The listeners, the average listener hears this all the time. I will literally put on Disney background music. Say if I'm in a Polynesian that day, I'll light my Polynesian candle. I'll put on the Polynesian background music, and I'll work like I'm in a lobby of the Polynesian. I do that with the Mousekeeping one. I do that with the Beach Club. I do that with the Wilderness Lodge. I'm a lunatic. So
it's like like method actors.
That's me. Yeah, I'm a method actor.
Like Jim Carrey will be that character nonstop, day and night.
Yeah, like Daniel Day-Lewis was like Bill the Butcher, like the entire time he did Gangs of New York.
That's how you separated yourself from the pack, man.
True.
And that's how it's done, right? People can take a lesson from you, man.
Dude, I heard a thing about Jared Leto. I always thought, by the way, his name was Jared Leto, but I found out that I was wrong. It's Leto. When he played the Joker which nobody saw that movie, I don't think, that Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a Marvel movies guy. I'm not into the big DC movies. I did see Wonder Woman. I thought that was really, really good. But apparently when he's a method actor, Jared Leto. And when he was playing the Joker for Suicide Squad, he was in character all the time. And he like sent people, his colleagues, what do they call them? Co-actors, whatever that word is that I can't find right now. Co-stars. He would send them like dead rats in the mail and all this weird stuff to kind of like bloody knives, like all kind of crazy stuff in the mail to kind of keep that, edge that he was the Joker. Super weird. But hey, man, whatever you got to do. I light a candle. Jared Leto sends dead rats.
That's crazy, man. You got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, I think dead rat might be where the line is drawn. I don't know. It's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you, Mike. You go over to your storage closet where your suitcases are and just throw them around just so you feel like TSA and you're traveling and
just kick stuff, break stuff.
Yeah, and then you go out to the curb and try to hail a cab, even though there's no cabs in your neighborhood.
There aren't. We don't have cabs. Yeah. We will get an Uber once in a while. That's kind of fun. It's exciting.
That's nothing like rolling the dice with a goober.
The whole neighborhood comes to the windows to watch.
Yeah. This could be his last ride. You never know with these goobers. I wonder if who's going to take claim to his lawnmower.
Mine's locked in my shed, so no one's getting it. It's mine. All right, man. Let me move on to another call. This one is from. Again, like I said, it's going to be all over the place. So I
feel like we're on a radio show. Let's move on to another call.
Yeah, it is. I know. It's like we're listening to. It's my. This is going to be the clip I send when I want to get on live radio. I see how well I handle the calls, even though I already know what's coming. It's kind of easy. So, all right. So this one is from a friend of ours, and I actually forget what she's going to say. So we'll play it and see how it goes because I don't remember what she says. Hold on.
Hey, Phil. This is Lauren Gaggioli calling to say congratulations on 100 episodes of the Ear to There podcast. It's such an amazing accomplishment, and I have to say, I just love how much knowledge you bring in each and every episode. Your knowledge and your insight. You're just a wealth of Disney facts, and I so enjoy listening and being surprised by where all those little tangents end up leading. I always learn something, and I am just so grateful not only for your show, but also for your friendship. And here's to the next 100 episodes. I'll be sure to call in and congratulate you for episode 200. And, whatever it takes you, 15 minutes. You put out so much content. It's amazing. So, again, congratulations and enjoy.
So poor Lauren, I drug her around while she was pregnant around Disneyland and was pointing out stuff to her. I feel bad, like really bad. I think that's why she felt the need to say I had a lot of knowledge because I was like, do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Hey, Lauren, you know what this is? And she was probably like, shut up. Like, I don't want to hear anything else about Disneyland. But that's she's awesome, and I was excited to hear from her, and it was fun. But yeah, I think I drove her nuts when we were out there with her over D23.
Well, I mean, first off, that was a really nice message. I mean, she's super, super awesome, and that was a nice thing that she said about you. And I honestly, I mean, I don't want to speak for her, but I think she's kind of like us. She's really into Disney, and she's really somebody who enjoys the facts and learning what goes on behind the scenes and the stories that kind of build up to what we enjoy here in the parks. And so I don't know. I got to imagine it, even though she was super pregnant and you dragged her out there on a 100-degree day and the asphalt was burning her feet and her heels were melting into the – I mean, no, I'm just kidding. No, it's Southern California. It doesn't get hot over there, does it?
It was like 85, man. It was – and, her 90 degrees.
But it's a dry heat.
I love when people say that.
My own best customer for comedy tonight.
That was a good laugh that you gave yourself after that joke.
Yeah, that's textbook narcissism right there.
No, dude, textbook narcissism is doing an episode where you have people call in and talk about yourself and want to celebrate it. But like the thing I wanted to, the reason I wanted, and I'm playing, again, the majority of the calls that we got because I was excited about it. But so I remember, and now again, I did this afternoon, and I don't remember all the clips that I picked. So, Lauren, I wanted to kind of find a clip where I talked about something that people may or may not know, or so I'm playing this clip next about what I kind of thought Lauren was talking about. So let's see how it goes. Now, one interesting thing that I kind of discovered as I was doing my research for this week's show was that apparently Frontierland was inspired by a New York Wild West park called Frontiertown. Frontiertown opened in the Adirondack Mountains on July 4th, 1952, and remained open until 1999. That is, except for a couple years in the 1980s when it was closed. Anyway, Walt apparently heard about this park, and again, this is not according to the official Disney account of Frontierland, but apparently Walt heard about Frontiertown, sent a camera crew up under the guise of filming a movie there, got footage of the park, and used that footage to inspire his Frontierland in Disneyland. See, that's something I found in research, and I had no idea that was a real thing. But I don't say anything on the show that I don't kind of look into and look up and find multiple sources for. And that kind of blew me away. Like, you find out all kinds of cool things when you're researching for shows like that. That was from one of the Words of the Week episodes. And I had people write to me and be like, is that true? And I said, yeah, apparently and I don't want to say anything bad about Walt Disney, but he may have kind of borrowed the idea and the setting for Frontierland from someone else. I don't know, but that sure seemed that way from what I researched.
Well, there's probably the most famous story of their clandestine activities was the buying of the property here in Florida. That would be a great book. Maybe we shouldn't say this on the podcast so you can keep the idea and you do it yourself. But
Dude, I keep wanting to write a book and I'm not finding time for that.
Well, maybe it's just you need the right spark of inspiration.
Spark.
Exactly. I couldn't get the right line. Darn it! I was. Come on.
Yeah, now you got to do the accent. You got to sing it in a John Cleese accent. Can you do it?
Not with this jaded septum I'm rocking right now.
I was hoping I could get you to sing. I've never got you to sing on the show.
I can maybe do like some Biz Marquee. But I'm again my own best customer for comments.
I thought that was great.
Okay. So people know that reference. So anyway, but that would be a great book just to list out all the clandestine kinds of activities that they did as a company back then, which I think that story is fascinating. And you know what? I don't think the stories necessarily should be heard in a way that you go, wow, they did all these kind of shady things. And yeah, this is an example of how they aren't truly original. No, that's not the case. I mean, I think the case can be instead looked at of, hey, this is how you could get inspiration for being innovative in yourself and being able to just open your eyes and go around and experience the world and seeing what's out there and tell yourself, you know what, I can do something like this and on a totally different level and make it different. Because there's a book out there, I think it's called 0 to 1, and I'm going to quote this very poorly because it's been a while. But the idea is, going from 0 to 1 is this concept of taking something that's brand new and bringing it out there in a way that the world, have never seen. Whereas going from 1 to 2 is taking an idea and then bringing it to the masses. And Face Page was the original big to do social media, kind of blew up, then became Twitter, then we had Snapchat, and then we had whatever else is out there, Instagram, I don't even know anymore. But I think you can probably make the argument that a lot of what you're seeing with those kinds of stories is still 0 to 1, where they're taking this concept of having this place where you can see something, but then making it now an immersive environment where you're actually being a part of the shows that are being told here, as opposed to just walking through a set. Now you're actually in the show that's being put on. And that's a really fascinating thing to kind of look at and how they do that kind of work. So that's I mean, and that's why I like when you do those kinds of little nuggets and deep dives into these little things of, it's more than, it's kind of fun when we talk about just general things that we like and things that we see and all that kind of stuff. But when you're taking the time to also pepper in some information that help super fans like me and Lauren get in there and really understand more about it, it makes us love the product even more, love the brand even more. So that's really, really well done on your part.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and it's you're right, and those things are kind of fun to kind of look at and see. I don't know. They use a word for a different show. The origin story of things like that of Frontierland or of Main Street USA, and take a look and see where all that stuff came from. I do it because I'm a nerd and I really like it. I like doing the research. I like knowing this stuff, and I'm glad to hear that other people do too. And I'm not just kind of putting them out there and no one's listening to them. And it's fun. Like, it's fun to do the deep dive and to see where stuff kind of came from. I love doing the one on, I don't know if you remember, I did an episode on Cornelius Vanderbilt Wood and why he was scrubbed from all the Disney history books. And here was this guy who was like, he was employee number one or cast member number one in Disneyland. He wore that badge, and he was the first, person that Walt ever hired to run Disneyland. And you've never heard of him. Like, why didn't you ever hear of him? And here it was, they had a falling out. Nobody really knows why. But here was this guy that Walt used to call, refer to as his son. And they had this huge falling out, and he's completely wiped off the face of the earth as far as the Disney history books go. I forget what episode that was. It's a word. It was Word of the Week. Cornelius, that's a C word. But like that kind of stuff, I really enjoy and I really love it. I love doing the research for those shows. And I've actually had people come to me and say, "Listen, I can imagine how much work this is, how much research it is. Do you want someone? We're offering. I've had people offer for free to do the research for those shows for me, and I'm a control freak, man. I want to do them myself, and I do it myself. And eventually, I think I'll hand some of the stuff over to someone else. But for right now, I really enjoy doing it.
It reminded me of a funny story I heard. I was watching the news on my favorite news channel, TMZ, and it was Steve Wozniak and Steve-O from that MTV show that I probably can't say the name of it because this is a G-rated podcast.
That's an interesting combination of individuals right there.
Right, exactly. They met on Dancing with the Stars, which is even funnier. And they were outside the Apple store in the Grove in LA, and they're saying, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" And Steve-O said, "Well, we were talking backstage on the show, and I was telling Steve Wozniak that my MacBook was busted. I need to get a new one." He goes, "Come with me down to the store, and I'll get you an employee discount." He goes, "Right on, let's do it." So they go down to the store, and he picks out the computer, and they go to check out. And Wozniak goes to the team member, the Apple Store team member, and goes, Can I get him my employee discount?" And they said, "Sure. What's your employee number?" And Wozniak said, 2. That's awesome. I would have loved to have been there to hear that.
That's so cool.
And then not have the person not recognize Wozniak.
Yeah, really. You think you should know who he is when he walks in the door.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not everybody would, but if you're an Apple employee, you kind of want to.
He's a pretty recognizable guy. I mean,
yeah,
really. That's a good story, man. That's funny, and I'm glad that you get your news from such a reputable source.
They fact check. I mean, they fact check better than everyone else.
They are right, like every time. It's true.
I mean, they were the first ones to break really, really big stories. So that's why I go there.
All right. Well, moving on from the TMZ conversation. So another cool thing is, so I asked people to call in with funny things or fun things they remembered. Remember, I had a guy a listener who's I've been in contact with a lot. He's a nice guy. His name's Austin. And this is a funny thing that he called in about. He called in. He told me he did a really good Paul Frees, the ghost host from the Haunted Mansion. And he wanted to, and I asked him if he would do it for the, call in and do it for the podcast. So he did. So I wanted you to hear it. It's again, nothing is in any order on this episode. It's just all kind of stuff that I liked and I enjoyed, and it was fun over the first, 100 episodes of the show. So here's Austin doing his best, Paul Frees, who was the ghost host from the Haunted Mansion.
All right there, Phil. It's Austin. So as promised, here's Paul Frees as the ghost host. Your cadaverous pallor betrays an aura of foreboding, almost as though you sense a disquieting metamorphosis. Is this haunted room actually stretching, or is it your imagination? And consider this dismaying observation. This chamber has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, there's always my way. All right, that was fun. Bye then.
So that was awesome. I don't know if it's the voice. I think it's more of his delivery that killed me when I heard that.
Did he read that or did he memorize that?
I didn't ask him. It seemed like it was didn't it seem like it was off the top of his head?
Seemed like it was pretty natural. Like he wasn't reading it. Like he just kind of just rolled with it. Because that wasn't, because I don't think, if I tried to read that, I mean, I can't do the Paul Frees voice and nowhere near like that. Although with my nasal situation going on, it probably helps a little bit. But yeah, because to kind of deliver the line like that without, with reading, it would be really hard. So he must have memorized it. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, dude. I again, like that's the reason I wanted to put that on. It's just it made me laugh, and he's a frequent listener. He's a good dude, and I just wanted everyone to hear how cool that sounded because
that was pretty awesome, man.
Yeah,
shout out to Austin.
I do my awful impressions on the show. I do my Mickey Mouse, or I'll do. I don't even know what else I do. I know I've done Mickey on the show, and I've done my Grover, I think, or Yoda. The help you, I will. Yes. Yoda.
Nice, man.
It sounds very much like Grover.
I had a buddy of mine. He does like MC stuff for events and things like that, and he got to be the host for this event where I can't remember the lady's name, but she did the voice of Ursula.
Yes, I forget her name too. I've seen her interviewed on like D23 things and that kind of stuff.
But so he's doing his thing with her, and it was at some kind of conference, and asking her the questions, and it's like a panel discussion. And he goes, "Before we go, can Ursula read this off to us?" And he handed her the script to that, the opening sequence of the Haunted Mansion.
I've seen that. That is it's such a cool thing.
Yeah, it's really funny, and I thought that's brilliant. That was a brilliant move,
and she kills it too.
Yeah,
and I don't know if she knew it. I think that's a speech that everyone's heard, but anyone who's a Disney fan, but to be able to do it the way she did it, I wonder if I can find that on YouTube to play it.
But it is Disney related. It's should I give it away or should I play? It's from the Haunted Mansion.
Let me cough. Welcome, mortals, to the Haunted Mansion. I am your host. Your ghost host. That can take it out of you. Our tour begins here in this gallery, where you see paintings of some of our guests in their corruptible mortal state. Kindly step all the way in, please, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now. Your cadaverous pallor displays an aura of foreboding, almost as though you sense a disquieting metamorphosis. Is this haunted room actually stretching? Or is it your imagination? And consider this dismaying observation. This chamber has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, there's always my way.
But again, like that's the kind of stuff that I really have enjoyed over the last couple of years, is getting stuff like that, like just completely unexpected, fun stuff that people, like you said, building community, getting to know people, getting funny clips like that to listen to, just really cool. And it's something that I'm not taking for granted. And I never thought I was going to do a podcast. I never thought I would have the opportunity to listen and talk to so many influential people and celebrities and my friends and make friends like I've had. I mean, I mentioned earlier that, you and I have become friends basically only because I started this whole Disney venture. And then, I became friends with Lauren and Mrs. Shortsleeve. Did I say Mrs. Shortsleeve? That's hard to say, by the way. And now I have...
She still struggles with it.
And I have... Disney celebrities that I've had on the show, and it's such a cool thing to be someone who I hated my voice. I didn't want to do a podcast, and now to be looking at 100 episodes and have all these cool experiences and meet all these cool people. It's amazing. I'm really super lucky to be able to do this. It's really cool.
Yeah, and so now my question is for next one, like what other voices can we have Austin do? Like I'm thinking in my head, where's some other like key, like the monorail, announcement, the por favor, one.
Let's throw the gauntlet down to him and say, Austin, I know you're listening to this right now. I need you to call the voice line at 267-551-1971 and leave us somebody else.
Maybe like the Big Thunder Mountain one. This year is a wildest ride in the wilderness.
No, he doesn't have to do it. You just did it. Perfect.
Nice.
No,
scratch that one off the list. Take that, Austin. You're not the only one that can do voices.
No, I think the gauntlet has been thrown down. Now he's got to come back with something else. But the thing is, like, the most amazing thing about doing this is, and the coolest thing is this, I guess the celebrities, and it's not the coolest thing because I've gotten to meet people who are just not celebrities who are very cool, but the chances that I've gotten to talk to these Disney, difference makers and people who have been so important in the company, I've been super lucky to talk to some really, really cool celebrity guests on the show. And don't ask me how I've got them because I just got lucky, like Jim Cummings and, Lee Cockrell and people like that who I just didn't expect to ever get on the show. And I actually had a well-known Walt Disney World celebrity. If you know Walt Disney World TV at all, you know who she is. But so I wanted to play the voicemail I got from her, and then go into a little bit about when I had her on the show. Here we go.
Hi, Phil. This is Stacy from Must Do Disney and VO Buzz Weekly. Congratulations on your 100th episode. That is so awesome. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for having me on your show. It was super, super special. And here's to the next 100. Take care and again, awesome job. Bye.
So
wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah, so that's the one and only Stacy J from Must Do Disney, and she was from the Disney World Top 10s or whatever it was before.
What's the other thing she does she said it there, VO
Buzz Weekly. Yeah, it's a show that they put out on YouTube. Her and God, I can't remember his name. Chuck
Rodriguez.
Not Chuck Rodriguez, but Chuck.
Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck. Oh, gosh, I can't.
Chuck D.
Yes, from Run DMC? No, who's Chuck D?
Public Enemy.
Public Enemy.
Come on.
I forget his name, but they do a show on YouTube, and they've interviewed the biggest of the big voiceover celebrities. I mean, they've had everybody you could ever think of on their show. So it's super nice of her to call in and wish me, congrats on the episode and all of that. And she's just the genuine, like, nicest person that you'll talk to. Seriously, like you might think that you hear on Must Do Disney and she's kind of putting on a little bit of facade or a show. She's not. She's super, super nice. And when I talked to her, I interviewed her on the show, excuse me, way back, I think it was episode 20 maybe, she, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and my recorder cut out at the end. So, and I let her talk, and I didn't say anything, and it just didn't record it. So I told her after a couple minutes, I said, listen, I'm so sorry, I missed it. And she said, don't worry about it, let's just re-record it. And it was really, really nice for her, because I know she was busy, and she's done, every podcast, and she's super gracious and nice with her time, and it was cool. But she mentioned something during the episode that I wanted to bring up. Again, play another little clip, and it's something about that, and I'll kind of explain why I wanted to play it in a second. But here it is.
When I got to Los Angeles, I mean, I had some money in my pocket. I had made a plan that I was going to, I was coming out here to act and to do voiceover and on-camera work. There was no plan B, and that's kind of how I operate. I mean, that how they say leap and the net will appear. I always just leap high and big and know that I will land on my feet or fly.
So, dude, that's the Walt Disney move, right? That blew me away when I heard that from her.
And she says it very matter-of-factly, and like, this is how I operate, which is even cooler about that message. And you know how somebody can kind of throw out a statement that is kind of like a motivational or whatever it kind of is your mantra, and you can kind of tell, like, yeah, it's a neat thing, but it might be a little lofty. She says it with a lot of conviction, like, this is just how I roll. And like, to me, that's really impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And it struck me when she said, I had a little money in my pocket. I moved out to LA, and, jump in the net will appear. Like, I love that quote. I know that's she's paraphrasing. I forget who originally said that. I remember I looked it up at some point, but.
Oh, it's not hers?
It's not. But it's her.
It's really, whatever. She owns it. I mean, it's good. It's like, lift your arm and the beer will appear. Like, that's what I'm hoping for right now.
That actually reminds me, I should go get a beer.
We should have an intermission.
Yeah,
go get you another beer.
I really need to.
You're a little too coherent.
But the thing I really enjoy about that is it's the Walt Disney thing, and it's it's a take a chance and take a leap of faith. And again, it's so much of, I'm not, and this is going to sound ridiculous, please don't think that this is what I'm saying. I'm not comparing myself to either Stacey Oswald or Walt Disney. But a couple years ago, I was like, I think I could do this Disney thing. I want to make it a career. I want to do something. But I have to kind of quit what I'm doing now to do it. And I did. And I'm so happy that I did. I'm just really, I'm lucky to get to do what I do, to do this show, to talk to these people, to have you on the show, to have, other friends on, it's a fun job, and it's fulfilling, and it's, I can't say enough about how that statement and that talk with her kind of inspired me, and it was really cool. So that's another thing I wanted to bring up, that, it's, again, I'm not comparing myself to either of them, that they both have made. Walt Disney obviously was one of the, if not the biggest icon of the 20th century, one of them. It's just neat to have something in common with people like that. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm crazy.
No, it does. And it's really nice to, how if you see a celebrity or somebody in entertainment do, some body of work, whether it's a film or record an album or whatever it is, and then you find yourself enjoying their craft and how they have perfected their craft or how they execute their craft. And you think, wow, that's really impressive. And then all of a sudden you see them in normal life, or whether you meet them in person or you see them on TV and you go, oh boy, they're total jerks.
Yeah.
No, not really into it anymore. It's really cool. I had heard her do another interview a while ago, and I just kind of forgot about it. Then when I heard her do yours, it reminded me, oh yeah, she's a really cool person. And it made me so happy and relieved when I was reminded that she was a cool person, because she is somebody who, anytime I would get a chance to see the must-dos, and even I geek out, so I'll watch it on YouTube every now and then.
Yep, me too.
It's it's good to know that that's kind of like genuinely how she is, and what you see there is what you get. That, to me, anytime you see that a person who operates like that, that's really impressive to me. I like that a lot. So I applaud her success, and I'm glad that she is doing well, and I wish her continued success, because those are the kind of people you want to cheer for.
Totally agree, man. Totally, completely agree. She's one of those really sweet, super nice people. And, I sent her an email to ask if she would call into the show. And within a day, I heard back. She was like, yeah, whatever you want. Like, let me know. Didn't ask for anything in return. So, yeah, she's just a genuine article. So, again, you can find her on VO Buzz Weekly on YouTube. And, of course, she's still on your TVs in Walt Disney World. Stacy, she's awesome. So, it was really, really cool to have her on the show and to have her call in for this. So, thank you to Stacy. So I have a couple more, if you're not getting completely overwhelmed with listening to voicemails and talking about them. I have one from a friend of both of ours. We haven't met in person, but we both know very well from he contacts us after shows once in a while, and he's a listener and a fan and a super nice guy. And now I can't find his voicemail, so if you give me 1 second. All right.
So he's been written off.
Right. Here he is.
Hey, it's Frank from Maine, just calling in regards to the Ear There podcast. Just saying that I really greatly appreciate your show. Much like most people, I'm sure, out there do listen to a fair share of the other Disney podcasts, but after coming across yours, that listening is getting smaller and smaller, to the point where I'm almost listening just to the Ear There podcast exclusively. I really appreciate how down-to-earth Bill is and how knowledgeable he is, and you can definitely tell how passionate he is about trying to make sure that everyone does enjoy everything Disney-related, and basically make sure that everyone gets the most out of their experiences and the most out of their enjoyment of said park. So I'm calling to say that just absolutely love the show. Shout out to Johnny Shortsleeve and Safety Dave. I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you again for all the hard work. Thanks a lot.
So there you go.
Shout out to Frank and Safety Dave.
You got your
nice
shout
job,
out.
Man. Thanks for that message, Frank. That was cool, dude.
Wasn't it cool? Yeah. I was like, Frank is one of those. He's one of those guys. He's a listener who is, again, one of those people I'm so lucky to have met and to have encountered, because he's just appreciative, and I think he understands. Like, you and I know that these are, we love recording these episodes, and they're a lot of fun, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I think he gets it and appreciates it, and it's really cool to hear from somebody who's just a fan and likes listening, and it's awesome. So I was so excited that he called in, and
that was really nice of him. That was a really nice thing for him to do.
And you did give him the shout out on the show a while back, so I think it was cool for him to call back and give you the shout out back.
Next time you're in town, we gotta rig up a little live recording with Safety Dave. I think Safety Dave live is a trip. That guy makes me laugh. Like, he's a funny dude.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah. So unfortunately, my January trip may not be happening. I'm still up in the air on that one, with lots of issues with my health and Amy, and we'll talk about that as we come closer to it. But yeah, so thank you, Frank, for calling in. That was really, really cool. And we appreciate it. And I have a couple more. I wanted to get to a couple more calls, and we can kind of go through them. And then I had a couple questions for you at the end. So let me go to. I'm like looking at what I have left here. Hold on 1 second. Now I can't find it.
Did Bob Iger leave you a message?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not going to play Bob's because...
he's almost out anyway, man.
Yeah,
he's riding the clock. I'm sure he's got senioritis right now.
And he wasn't super nice on a message either. I didn't like that about Bob.
He's a cool fish. That's an inside joke.
I know. I'm wondering who's going to... There's got to be one or two listeners that gets that joke. Did I play this one yet? No, I didn't play this one. All right, here's a friend of ours with her message from deep in the heart of Texas. How'd that song go? Deep in the heart of Texas.
From Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Exactly, that's what it's going
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Here we go.
Hey, Phil, it's Allie from Texas. I'm just calling to say congratulations on 100 episodes. Some of my favorites are anything you do with Johnny Shortsleeve or Chuck. They crack me up. And also your quirky takes on the movies. They really make me laugh. I love the Sidekick episodes. So keep on doing what you're doing, and I look forward to hearing what you have to come out with soon.
So that was our friend Allie, who's been on the show a bunch of times.
Shout out to Allie. Thanks for giving us a shout out.
Again, man, another shout out for you. And I don't think it's just because she knows you. I think it's it's because the shows are funny. And
Allie's super awesome. Her and her family are great people.
They are. And should we give them a plug? The best what is it, auto repair shop in all of San Antonio, Texas. Chad Miller Auto Care. See? There you go, Chad. I don't know if Chad listens to the show, but that's a little plug for him. And not that they need it. They're doing very well down there in San Antonio.
You should do like a promo code, mention, go in there in the Chad Miller, mention Ear to Their podcast, get a free lug nut tightening.
Yeah. I think we should just go crazy. Like if you mention the Ear to Their podcast at Chad Miller Auto Care, you get a free set of tires with the purchase of windshield wipers.
Free set of used tires. They have 80,000 miles on them. And they're bald. You can put them in your trunk. You can swing on them in your tree. I wouldn't put them on your car, though.
Chad, sorry, bud.
That'd be a brilliant marketing scheme because I think they have to pay money to have someone haul the tires away just to set them on fire and let them burn for 6 months at a time. Give them away, and you grind them up in a wood chipper, make mulch in front of your yard, in front of your house for your yard.
Make a playground out of that.
Yeah, make a playground.
It's community service, basically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's green. You're recycling.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, Chad, there you go. Now you have a new business idea.
You're welcome, Chad.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Any more where that came from?
All right. So now I'm just kind of going through the messages. Okay. So I mentioned too. All right. So these are the last couple that I wanted to get to because I mentioned that how cool it was to talk to like these Disney celebrities who are just so humble and so gracious and so nice and just amazing. So I talked to a friend of both of ours. He was on the show. Let's play his voicemail and then we'll talk about it. So here he is.
Hey, Phil, it's Lou Mangello from WW Radio. And first and foremost, man, congratulations on 100 episodes. That is an amazing accomplishment. It has been great to sort of watch your journey and just see how you and the show keep getting better and better. I tried to think of what my favorite episode was out of 100. And like restaurants in Walt Disney World, you can't just pick. I mean, deep down you have a favorite, but you don't want to single anybody out. So I won't single out any episode or any guest. And you have had some amazing repeat and celebrity guests on the show. So I guess this long-winded, incredibly rambling voicemail is just to say congratulations to you, brother, on all that you are doing. Here's to 100 episodes and 1,000 more. Congrats.
So, talking that one up to another shout out to the short sleeve. Talking about the repeat guest. Yeah, I heard it.
That's you. Definitely, without a doubt. So
I had him and the whole crew over to the house the other day, and he took me aside and said, "Johnny, check this out." Rolls up his sleeve. He's got the Gryffindor seal tattooed on his arm. I said, "Man, this is not on brand." And I said, "You know what? It is what it is." And I said, "That's I like how he rolls, man. I like the cut of his jib."
The guy, he projects one way, and then it's completely different when it comes down to real life.
But no, and like talking like Stacy, no, to be honest though, he is what it is. I mean, whatever you see on the podcast and his YouTube channels and all the stuff he does in social media, that's how he is. He's a super, super cool guy. Him and his whole family, they're beautiful people.
He is, and they are. And Lou's helped me tremendously with my career, my business, and my podcast. And I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for him. He's the one that pushed me into, not pushed me, that sounds terrible. But he kind of convinced me to start a podcast. And he kept saying, you're missing this element here. You should do this. And I was so hesitant to do it, but I owe him an awful lot because he really helped kind of develop my this podcast, for me, and including you and including Chuck and including Allie on the show and Jen and so many more, and Amy now has been on a bunch of episodes, and it's sad people like her. No, I'm kidding.
No, good. No, she doesn't listen, does she?
She never listens. She's not going to know that I said that.
You're okay. Yeah, I won't say anything.
But no, I mean, I owe all you guys a ton for where I am and for doing the show and for doing all this and for booking trips because you've told your friends, and it means a lot to me. But something Lou said about the celebrity guests kind of made me think about when I had him on the show. I had him on for episode 50. And I'm going to play a couple more clips, and then I promise I'll stop playing them in your ear. But here's what Lou had to say about having celebrity guests on the show.
And that's, again, talking about the thrill and the privilege that we get is to hear these people tell their stories. It's one thing to read it in a book, but when you hear them with the emotion and then they go off on tangents and so, it's amazing to be able to hear them. And especially, and I think back to Richard Sherman when he would talk about Walt, the quiver in his voice, the emotion that he expressed. That's why I love this medium, man. You cannot convey that in any other way. You can read, Phil wept as he looked at the buffet, but to hear you actually weep is something else completely.
All right. So I love that because I think he's right. There's something about this, about, hearing the story directly from the person that experienced it, that makes it, so different and so cool. I know you and I tell each other stories on here all the time, and it's different than, if we wrote an email to each other or read it somewhere. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's just, I think he hit that. He was right on with that. And I'm so lucky to have the regular guests that I have on, like you and Chuck and everyone. But to hear stories from people like, Bob Gurr or Rolly Crump, those guys, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I was talking to him the other night, and we were eating pizza and drinking wine. It was a good time. And I was just pulling some stories out of him. And he's cool because he has some amazing stories to tell that you may have heard some on the podcast. Some of the ones that he was telling me I hadn't heard ever before on a podcast. And I thought, wow, man, he's cool because he has this collection of stories that he has to share, but he doesn't like hold it out there like, hey, look at me, how awesome I am. I've got this network of friends and I have a Rolodex that will be ultra impressive to any Disney fan. And he's very cool about it. And it's neat to hear, other people in you. I think you and him are in the same, on that same plane in many regards, in that it's amazing that the two of you guys can find a way to connect with these people who have these amazing stories and to find a way to get them to open up and tell the stories in a way that's very compelling. And it is perfect. It scratches an itch for people like me who are super Disney fans and just really love to hear about the people that make this wonderful thing so wonderful to enjoy. And so, it's a nod to him and it's a nod to you at the same time for doing the same thing. And you have your own style that's very unique, and he has his style. And I think that's really cool to have that as Disney fans.
Thanks, man. Yeah. you're right. He does, for the amount of people that Lou has met and talked to, and the influencers and Richard Sherman and all of these people that he've got. Alice Davis is another one that he got to talk to, and just amazing people. And you're right. It's not like he's like, oh, look who I've gotten to talk to. And I feel like, I hope I don't do that either. I'm just in awe, and just, I don't understand how I've managed to talk to people that I've talked to, but he's the same way. He's a fan first, and he just really enjoys telling those stories that he got. Like every time I hear him tell the story about Julie Andrews, it makes me laugh because he's such a Julie Andrews fan. And he's the one that, inspired me to give it a shot and get her on my show. And I got her. And it's the craziest thing ever. Like I listen to clips of that, and I'm still blown away. I'm like, how
have you ever heard him
happen?
tell the story? Have you ever heard him tell the story about going to Alice Davis's house?
Yeah, it was like I don't know, he said it was like a museum of
that's crazy.
Artifacts of Disney history. I mean, her husband, she did amazing things by herself. I mean, she did all the costumes for It's a Small World, and I love the story of when he met her. When Walt met her, and she said, and he was, she was out to dinner with her husband, Mark Davis, a legendary Imagineer, and Walt told Alice he had just met her, and he said, "You're going to work for me someday." And it took like years, but then she eventually came, and it was the costume designer for I think Pirates of the Caribbean and for It's a Small World, and such a cool, really cool stories that these people have to share. So I just, I have to say that I had to geek out that I have a moment. I have several moments, but here's for me, my favorite moment, I think, so far from the celebrities I've talked to was Julie Andrews. Here's a clip that I wanted to play real quick. Of course, we actually went to the library, my kids and I, this week, and we took out.
You are a good dad, my gosh.
We took out The Very Fairy Princess, Sparkles in the Snow, and The Very Fairy Princess Follows Her Heart. We read them the last couple nights before they went to bed. So yeah, my 6-year-old she's reading now, and you got to watch what you spell around there because she's starting. She picks up on everything that you spell. But
yes,
the books
indeed.
The books are fantastic.
They learn so much in those formative years, much more than probably ever again, in a way.
So I don't know if you heard that, but Mary Poppins called me a good.
I listen, man. You live your life. You do what you want to do, and you don't have to take anything I say seriously. But if I was you, I would scrap the voicemail greeting that you have on your phone. Which, no disrespect, it's pretty boring. I would make that the voicemail greeting. That every time somebody calls you, you just hear that clip of Julie Andrews saying you're a good dad.
I know. I should do that. You're right. And thank you for the very kind words about my voicemail.
Oh yeah, no, you're welcome. That's a little Chuck Rodriguez, rubbing off on me.
That was a Chuck move. No, dude, that was such a cool thing. Like seriously, and Julie Andrews doesn't know me, but I got to talk to her for 15 minutes one time, and it was the coolest thing. Gosh, who would have thought? I'm such a nerd, like a Disney nerd, and the thing that I would have talked to. I remember talking to you before I talked to her, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm terrified." Like, it's terrifying, and I went over that interview in my head 1,000 times before we actually did it. And I remember I told her right out in front of the interview, I said, "I'm nervous," and she said, "Don't be like that." She said, "Just relax and we'll have a good chat." And I was like, "That's awesome." She was so cool and so down there. And so was her daughter, Emma, just so very nice. And it was amazing. And I was, again, influenced by Lou to get her on the show. I took a shot. Somehow it worked. I don't know how. To this day, I'm not topping Julie Andrews ever on the show.
I wouldn't say that, though. Julie Andrews was an amazing achievement for you. I'm extremely proud that you were proud of you for doing that, and you did it so well. It was getting Julie Andrews to say yes is an amazing feat. But then when you add on top of that, you had a really, really good interview with her and her daughter.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's something to be extremely proud of. And I heard that, and when you sent me the audio of it. I got to do the sneak peek, and I was like, golly, he nailed it. Like, this is a really good interview.
Thanks, man.
It was just so, I was so happy for you that it went so well. And so the point being is that, yeah, she's a legendary individual and has done some amazing things. But I don't think that this should be like, you shouldn't be saying that that's it. I think there's a lot of great people out there who, maybe are on her level, maybe even a little higher, maybe not. Even if they aren't, they're very significant people. And I think there's a lot of opportunities still out there for you to uncover in terms of being able to continue to tell these stories and to, create this community around this idea that, we all love this thing universally, and let's see what other kinds of cool things are out there for us to enjoy from you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for saying that was a good interview, because I remember after I did it, I just, my mouth, I couldn't pick my jaw up off my, off the floor for an hour. I walked around my house like I was the president of the United States that day, man. I was like, I am awesome. I allowed myself to have that moment. Like how cool is that I can tell? And she answered a question from my daughter, from Alexa. That was really cool. And to play it for her in Alexa's own voice. And it was cool. So yeah, so I'm so lucky and fortunate to have the chance. And now I have, like I said, I mentioned Rolly Crump, and I mentioned Bob Gurr, and I have Bob Gurr on the show pretty much every show, which is insane. I remember when I first started out, I was like, I hope I can get him on the show. And now I have him answering questions on every show.
Now he has a theme song.
He has his theme song, yeah, which he was super excited about. Bob loved it. So all right, so the other two I wanted to get to, and then that'll be it, was because I was talking about the guests and the legendary ones, Julie Andrews, and the other two I wanted to talk about were Rolly Crump and Bob Gurr. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly play those two last stories that they told, two of my favorite stories that they told on the show. So I'm going to play those now, and here we go. Hopefully, let me see if I can find it. Here we go.
So we got finished, and Walt said, "Is that it for today?" And Dick Irvine says, "Yes, that's it." He said, "Well, what's this stuff over in the corner?" And they said, "Well, that's something that Rolly's been working on." He said, "What is it that Rolly's been working on?" They said, "We don't know. You ask him." So he asked me, and he and I both sat in our chairs, and we rolled over, and I told him at that time exactly what I told you about the fact, the film I saw, and I felt that we should have weird stuff in there. And so Walt just said, "Yeah, but this stuff is really weird." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "I just want to do something different." And he said, "Well, how are you going to use it?" And I said, "I don't know." And so we got into this I don't know back and forth, and finally he said, "That's it. I'm out of here." So he got up and left, and everybody came over to me that was in the room and said, "We knew that Walt wouldn't like it. We knew that it was too weird." And I said, "I don't know. I know, but I was having fun with it." So the next morning I came to work, and Walt Disney sitting in my chair at my desk at 7 o'clock in the morning. And the first thing he said to me was, "You son of a..." And I thought, "Oh, my God, what have I done now?" And he says, "I didn't get an ounce of sleep last night because of all that weird stuff you showed me yesterday." And I said, "Well, those are the ideas that I have, And so he says, he said, "Because I didn't get any sleep," he said, "I thought about it all night." He says, "I think what we should do is have a museum of the weird." And he says, "Rolly, then you can design all the weird stuff you want, and we'll tell the public and our guests that we've gone around the world to find weird things to bring to Disneyland." And I said, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea." So he had the rest of the guys come in, and he gave them a presentation on the Museum of the Weird, using my sketches as the bottom line on it. And when he got finished, he said, "Well, I'm going to go home and go to bed now because I didn't sleep last night." So he left, and after he left, they said, "Rolly, we all knew you had something."
So that's the Rolly Crump one. Let me quickly play the Bob Gurr story about Walt as well, and then
because I wanted a fire engine, and I knew I would never have enough money to get one. And one day, Walt was in my office, and in the same manner that he'd come in a couple of years before, and then he slaps his knee and he says, "Say, Bobby, there's something we don't have in Disneyland. We don't have a double-deck omnibus. So why don't you get started on one?" Well, I did the same thing to him, in early 1958. I slapped my knee and I said, say, Walt, there's something we don't have on Main Street. We don't have a fire engine. Well, we had a horse-drawn one in the opening days, but it wasn't practical. And then Walt says, yeah, you're right, we don't. About 20 minutes later, the accounting department phones up and says, Walt was just here, and here's the project number so you can get started on the new fire engine project. And I thought, yahoo, I'm going to a fire engine. So I designed it and built it, and then I got a Department of Motor Vehicles permit to drive it down the Santa Ana Freeway from Burbank to Anaheim, a little 2-cylinder fire engine. And so I was so proud to deliver that on July 8th, 1958. So ever since, that's my fire engine.
Yeah, that's such a cool story, and I thank you for telling it, because I have heard it. But again, these are the kind of things that I'm like, I gotta have him tell to me personally, because these are such cool stories. So I mean, that's exactly why I love doing this show, doing a podcast, is getting to hear, like, first person accounts from people who've been there, legends who've done it, who've built Disneyland, who've built Disney World. I mean, come on, man. It doesn't get cooler than that, to like hear those stories from these legendary Imagineers themselves. It's so cool. It's amazing.
And you think about the fact that, Walt Disney World, Disneyland, I mean, knock on wood, I mean, these places are going to be around for generations to come, and they're just going to keep getting bigger, keep getting better. And if you think about it, they were all built on the backs of these individuals who were just at the right place at the right time. The secret sauce was just there for all of them. And Walt being the ringleader, and then there's some other major players that kind of were in concert with him in terms of being able to think about what this vision was going to look like. And you, Phil, are talking to people who we are going to be enjoying their work for decades to come. God willing, we last that long. I like to think that I'm going to last that long. I mean, I've got the recipe down. A breakfast whiskey, cigars at lunch. It's gonna work out just fine.
Grandma Shortsleeve has shown you the way.
Living a life where it's just nothing but, being vigorous in everything you do. That's how she does it. And I look and say, well, it works for her. So
that's right.
Yeah, but it's really amazing to think that these people are the ones that built this thing that's going to last for a very, very long time. And to be able to say that you're making friends with them, and you're having the chance to chat with them and pick their brains, and allow us, the listeners, to be a fly on the wall, is a really cool thing. And I know that you have the travel agency thing, and that kind of pays the bills and allows you to have the means to do this. But I think what's interesting is that the podcast isn't something that I look at as a listener of it and say, oh, it's just nothing but a big ad for you, whatever you do for your living. This is your passion. And this is something that, while, yeah, your passion also is pretty cool, that it's something you're earning an income based on something that you do that you love. And that's a really cool thing to do. But to kind of also allow you to have this creative outlet to put together this content and to talk to these individuals, I mean, that's really remarkable, and it's something I think is very inspiring.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you know what, dude? I got to be honest with you, and I swear this is very sincere. I do it for me first. Like, it sounds really selfish when I say that, but I do what I think. Like, I put out the stuff that I think that I would want to hear. Like, I want to hear what Bob Garr has to say. I want to hear what Roy Crump has to say, and what Lou has to say, and and Jim Cummings and Julie Andrews. So it's the stuff that I want to hear. But then again, I like to think I'm not alone. And from people like you and Chuck and our wives who love us anyway, even though we have like this Disney obsession. But they both love it. I think it's a cool thing, and I think, just because, basically, I'm kind of banking on the fact that other people love this stuff as much as I do, and it translates, and I think it does, and I hope it does, and I hope people enjoy it because it's a lot of fun. And that's what this episode was about, was just kind of, I wanted to hear what people liked, and like I said, what they didn't like, and nobody told me what they didn't like, which was nice of them. Like if someone was like, this is the part of the show that was terrible. Nobody said anything to me about that, so that was cool.
No, that is impressive.
Yeah,
in this
right?
day and age.
Yeah, you get a lot of that. You get a lot. Listen, dude, I've gotten you know, I've sent you emails. I've had that stuff in the past, but not on this episode. But it's
because everyone's got an axe to grind on something, and that's okay, whatever. But yeah, you've done a good job, and this is kind of a shout out to everybody who listens and puts comments on your face page. You got a really amazing group of people that are loyal listeners and are in this little community you're building, and that's a really nice thing. It's so amazing to see that everyone's kind of coming together and hanging out and making friends, and that is a neat thing.
It is cool, except for Frank. You got to watch out for that guy. No,
oh yeah, he's a wily one.
I wondered if he listened this long, and he just started to say that, heard me say that. But
he doesn't like. He only listens to the first 5 minutes, and he's like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, they didn't give me my shout out. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But thanks, man. Thank you again for coming on. This is cool to kind of look back at the first 100 episodes and or 99 episodes, or really 160 plus with all the words of the week. I mean, I've done a lot of these. But it's been fun, and dude, I have to say, man, you've been such a big part of it, and thank you so much. And I'm excited for the future, and hopefully you're that keep having you on. I hope you're not planning on ditching me anytime soon, because you're a fun dude to have on. I'm lucky and super glad we've become such good friends, and this is cool, man. It's a big part of my life now, and I owe a lot of that to you. So thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
No, it's my pleasure. It's always fun to talk about this stuff, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it. Now we just gotta get you to ditch that Northeast up there and get down here and move. I know you don't like the hot weather anymore, but man, it's good to have you though, to come down as much as you do, and it's it's fun to hang out when you're in town, and we'll figure out your situation coming up with the marathon, and if you'll be able to come down or not. But yeah, we'll have to get a live episode going, and we'll get Chuck in there and get Safety Dave going. I think Safety Dave would be game. He's a cool dude.
I'm way into that. So yeah, definitely. And I don't like the hot weather, but I don't like the cold weather either. I'm kind of I got to move to San Diego. That's what I got to do. And
yeah, or Honolulu.
Oh, you've been there, right? You've been to Hawaii?
I've been, yeah. I mean, that's sushi and 40 territory.
Oh, that's right. But, I forgot about that story. Yeah.
They're in the crosshairs right now, man. I don't want to get political, but man, that's dangerous territory over there right now.
I know, but I love Hawaii, man. It's one of my, if not my favorite place to go. I love it. I was sick the entire time. Of course I was. When I was there, I had 103 fever, but I don't go anywhere for vacation and not get sick. Anyway, man, I'm rambling. So thank you again. It was a lot of fun to kind of look back and celebrate the 100th episode with you. And I know that I give you the chance, and I wanted to make sure, even on the 100th episode, I give you the chance to, if you have any kind of charities or anything you wanted to talk about or kind of call attention to, please do so. Please take care of that now.
Well, I mean, if you're cool with that, that's really awesome of you. I totally didn't come prepared with anything, but it's so funny that you are talking about that and asking if I have anything, because I literally, before we started recording, I got a phone call from a buddy of mine. He was telling me about this situation right now. He works for a nonprofit here in town, and I was blown away by this. Let me just, I'll keep it tight. We'll keep it 30 seconds or less. Yeah. So my friend Wade, he works over at a little organization called the National Moped Association, and they've got a real issue that they're trying to get the word out. And they have this thing they call the ALEC notice, Act Like You Know notice. And what's going on right now, and I've seen this myself, I knew exactly what Wade was talking about. We of course done a great job with ad council and all these things with drinking and driving. It's amazing that this is even still an issue. It's a really sad state of affairs. Definitely, it's just there's no business for that anymore. But we're not talking about vaping and mopeding. I saw it the other day. Guy riding a moped, had a vape pen, and just took a big hit, and then all of a sudden he's got a face full of vapor. You can't see when you're riding down the road on a moped. I mean, look, when you're jamming down the road 8-9 miles an hour, and you got a vape pen blowing in your face, that's a recipe for disaster. Everybody, let's get honest. We need to get serious. Vape pens, they belong in your back pocket when you're on the moped. No. This is a safety issue for not only for you, the moped owner and rider and card carrying member, but for us, the general public around there. So I kept it tight. Thanks for keeping me under 30, and let's get the word out. Thanks, man.
You got it, man. So don't vape and what was it? Vape and moped. Vape.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what moped is. That a verb in that situation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, check it on Urban Dictionary. It's on there.
All right, man. Well, thank you again. I think you always come at the end with the very hard, heavy hitting.
I hate to bring these sad things because this is a really joyous occasion, 100 episodes. But
it is. Yeah. So thanks for bringing it into the public eye a little bit. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate, and yeah, we just have to be honest with ourselves sometimes, and we have to, we have to hear some unfortunate news and some things that we're doing wrong, but we can fix it. We can fix it together.
Like Bob the Builder.
That's right, moped.org. Check it out.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on for episode 100, and I'll talk to you soon. And that is going to do it for the 100th episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast. Again, thank you to my co-host, my guest, whatever you want to call him, my good friend, Mr. Johnny Shortsleeve. There wouldn't be an Ear to There Disney podcast without him. He's been such a huge part of it. So I don't know if he actually listens to these shows after we record them, but Johnny, from the bottom of my heart, again, you are the best. Thank you so much for your help and all of your hard work. And you do all of this without getting a nickel in return, and you're a great friend. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for listening. I know I said at the beginning of the show, I want to reiterate it. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that every week you give up, who knows, 45 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes of your time to listen to me and some of my knucklehead friends and some Disney celebrities ramble on about Disney and Walt Disney and Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Listen, I know your time is valuable and I know you're busy, and the fact that you take the time to listen to me, again, it means so much to me. And if I can help repay you in some way, let me know. If I can answer a question, if you need anything that I can do, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm not hard to reach. My email is out there. My phone number, my cell phone number is out there on my website. You can email me, you can call me, you can text me whenever. I will get back to you myself. If there's anything I can do to personally pay you back for listening and for all that time that you've given up, just let me know and I will do my best to do so. Okay, just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of the Ear to There podcast, Walt Disney World Word of the Week, each and every Wednesday morning. So again, thank you so much for listening. Have a phenomenal week. Keep on enjoying the holiday season. Bye-bye.
Hey, Phil, it's Debbie Reynolds. I just wanted to wish you a happiest 100th episode. I listen to you all the time going to work. I sing your theme songs. I'm not going to do it now. But I just wanted to say that I love listening to you. And I think probably one of my favorite guests was Rolly Crump. He had just such wonderful stories. And the Haunted Mansion is one of my favorite rides, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you keep doing more episodes in the future, Phil, and wish you the best. Thanks again. Have a good day. Bye.
Hello. Well, I'm Carolina, and me and my boyfriend Alonso have been helped a great deal by Phil with our vacation, which to us appears to be almost odd because I never really thought that I would need help planning a Disney vacation. I'm a huge fan myself. But Phil really impressed me over the years with his knowledge of Disney and with his incredible kindness and willingness to help us out with everything. And of course, I became a huge fan of the podcast, and I listen to it a lot at work, and sometimes we listen to it at home. And we have two favorite moments from the podcast. One is my own, which is a podcast where Phil talks a little bit about, I don't remember which one it was, but it really hit me because he talks about being a Disney fanatic and how that's okay, and how people might think you're strange for being crazy about Disney, but it's absolutely okay, and it's part of who you are, and that really touched me. And that brings me to the next podcast that rang a bell to me, which is talking about theme park music and favorite theme park music. And Alonso always makes fun of me because I shower listening to theme park music, and I just remember that podcast. Phil mentioned so many of my favorites, Splash Mountain, Haunted Mansion, and yeah. And I showed that to Alonso so that he could see that I'm not that weird after all.
Well, I haven't been to Disney in 20 years, so you can see the complication here with the fanatic. So now I associate the songs with her. So it's going to be fun to go to Disney and listen to those songs that I associate more with, my living room. And now I'm going to associate it with the actual thing. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah, so that's our take on some of the best moments of the podcast. It was a little bit out of our heads because there are lots of episodes and I have listened to plenty of them. But we just wanted to thank Phil again for all his hard work.
And patience.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Look, we all have those people in our lives that just don't get it, right? They don't understand why you go to Walt Disney World with every vacation that you take. They don't get why stepping out of your comfort zone is going to Disneyland or going on a Disney cruise. It makes no sense to them that on your iPod, on your running playlist, you have Disney park music or Disney movie theme songs. They don't understand it. There's a disconnect. It just doesn't compute for them. And I have to tell you, I understand. I get you. You see, this was me as a college student and as a high schooler, because I knew after my first trip to Walt Disney World in 1991 or 92, I always forget the year, but I knew after my first trip that this was it for me. This was my new favorite thing, that Disney and Walt Disney World and Disneyland would be something on my radar and something that I talked about for the rest of my life.